So let us continue. Today I want to talk sort of two areas of Dharma. Dharma, for those who aren't familiar, is the Buddhist teachings. The Buddha is the teacher, the enlightened one. It means he taught from his awakened understanding of the nature of life, the nature of mind, the nature of reality. And what he taught and the practices he taught is called his Dharma. These are all Sanskrit words, okay? So two wonderful teachings in Dharma. One I've talked about before, but I think it's wonderful for newer people and older people, is the teachings of host and guest. And the other one is a little quote from the Buddha, from the Anapanasati Sutta called, just a little phrase, gladdening the mind. For some reason, when I woke up this morning, that popped in. Gladdening the mind, wonderful practice. So let's begin with host and guest. So I'm going to read from just a little teaching on host and guest and then comment on it from a really unusual and great modern-day Chinese master. He actually lived into the late 1950s, and he was purported to be 120 years old. His name was Shu Yun, or Empty Cloud. Extraordinary life. You can read his autobiography and biographies. In Chinese Buddhism, he is greatly well known, because he lived, from the mid-1800s right through the communist takeover of China, and he had lots of interactions with the communists too, often quite negative and painful to him. But he was a great teacher. He could have left. His disciples wanted him to come with them to Taiwan, where many took refuge, but he wanted to stay and do what he could. So this is just a little teaching that he gave on host and guest. And again, host and guest is and I'll explain, but it's a very well-known teaching within Chan Buddhism, which is Zen. So he's quoting this very famous Buddhist sutra or teaching called the Sarangama. And he mentions that Kundinya, the honored one, mentioned the two words host and guest. And so this is Shu Yun, Empty Cloud speaking. This is where beginners should begin their practice. So it's so simple. You don't need a PhD in Buddhism. You don't need a master's degree in Buddhism. You don't need to know anything about comparative religion. Okay? You don't even have to practice meditation. This is for beginners. These are for people who, before they even get into any kind of meditative or spiritual practice, he's just kind of giving them a teaching. He said, you got to get this first. So he's talking about two words that were mentioned in the sutra, guest and dust. And he says, a traveler who stops at an inn may stay overnight and get something to eat. When they're finished, rested, they pack up and continue their journey, for the guest doesn't have time to stay longer. Everybody clear what a guest is? The guest is what? The one who comes and goes. Now, the host, if he were the host, he wouldn't have anywhere to go, would he? He would what? Stay. Okay? Thus, I reason, he says, he who does not stay is called a guest, because not staying is the essence of being a guest. He who stays is called the host. Right? Simple. Again, on a clear day, when the sun rises and the sunlight enters a dark room through an opening, one can see dust in empty space. Everybody have that experience? Looks clear here and there, doesn't it? But if the sun's coming in at a certain angle, all of a sudden you'll see what? Dust. It can be quite alarming. so much dust flying around. We think it's just clear space, but there's lots of dust. Dust. The dust is moving. The space is still, right? We said the dust is moving about, but the empty space isn't moving, right? It's still. We're distinguishing. That which is clear and still is called space. That which is moving is called dust, because moving is the essence of being dust. Very simple. Everybody get the concept. Guests come and go, host stays. Empty space stays, dust keeps moving. Anybody not getting it? It's very important. Now he says, this is Shu Yun commenting, guest and dust refer to illusory thoughts. He's going right for it. Whereas host and space refer to one's self-nature. This is essential to recognize and distinguish if you want to transform. All right? So the guests, the ones that come and go, the dust, the ones that move through, he calls these are analogous to illusory thoughts. Now, do we think about our thoughts as being illusory? No. We think about our thoughts as what? Real. Okay? So it's interesting, he just calls them illusory thoughts. Now, why does he call them illusory thoughts? What is an illusion? Think about, anybody ever see an illusionist? What do illusionists do well? What? Well, what, they don't go there and go, I'm now going to deceive you. No, they don't do that. They, what? What does an illusionist do? Make you believe it's real. Yeah, they do something, right? That you think looks real. You know what I'm saying? That, right? It looks real. What's the difference between reality and illusion is what? The illusion, we know, is not real. Everybody with me? Even though we can go to the illusionist show and enjoy it, we know in our reality mind what? What do we know? It's not real, but we can enjoy it. Anybody ever been to a great illusionist? What did they look like? What did they do that made you think, wow, magic? What did they do? Somebody in half. Yeah, and you see the toes wiggling. Yeah, things in half, toes are wiggling. What else? Anybody been to a good illusionist? They do. What? Yeah, they make things disappear. They pull rabbits out of hats. Right, I once saw David Copperfield. He's up on stage in his motorcycle. Remember that? And all of a sudden, and he's behind you, right? Up in the. So an illusion is something that appears to be real. That is not. This is very important, right? Such as a rainbow. I saw a rainbow the other night, a double rainbow. It looks what? It looks real. But it's an illusion, that reality is an illusion because there's nothing there, is there? You know, when you drive to the rainbow, when you want to find the rainbow, the closer you get, what happens? It's gone. Why was it gone? Because it seemed real, but upon investigation, you saw it was an illusion of reality. Is that clear? Clouds look solid and real, don't they? But that solidity is an illusion. How do you know it's an illusion? It doesn't look like an illusion. It looks solid and real. Solid. How do you know it's an illusion? You get in a plane. and all of a sudden you fly through the clouds. And what do you realize about the nature of clouds? Right, that solidity was an illusion. Okay, so he's saying guest and dust referred to illusory thoughts. So it's very important to know that in Buddhist psychology, thoughts are illusory. They're not solid and real. Even though they, what's the word? Appear solid and real. Just like the echo, just like the rainbow, just like the illusions. That the permanent host does not follow the guest in their comings and goings illustrates that permanent self-nature does not follow illusory thoughts in their fleeting rise and fall. Oh no. Is that true? Right? So when the guest checks out, right? Even if they've stayed, even if they're not an overnight guest, even if they were there for 3 days or a week or 2 weeks, at a certain point they what? They leave. And when they leave, are they still there? No. And when they leave, does the innkeeper, the host, follow them out and jump in the car with them and say, "Where are we going?" Stay with me. I know I'm being very simple, but we're getting somewhere. All right. So he's saying our permanent self-nature, which we'll talk about, does not follow the illusory thoughts in their coming and going. Is that true? If I asked you during your meditation and since you've been here, have you had any illusory thoughts? Have any illusory thoughts appeared in your mind? Anybody have any illusory thoughts appear in your mind? Okay. Now why can we call them illusory? Are they still there? Just check your mind, close your eyes, check your mind. Are the thoughts still there? This is important, because we never look at our minds. We're always looking out. So just look, where's that thought? Where are they all? And when you look at your mind this way, looking for these illusory thoughts, you would have to say what? What? They're gone. Just like the guest who drove off. But are you still here? The one who's looking for the thoughts? The one that's aware? Are you still here? So therefore you are the what? You are the host. Do you see the difference? If you think you're the guests, let's say you ran a big inn, and there were guests coming all the time, and you identified with each of them. Some of them are good guests, some of them are bad guests, some of them are grateful guests, some of them are complaining guests, right? Some of them are neat guests, some of them are sloppy guests, right? What does the host know? What does the innkeeper know about all the guests? They're going to leave. They're all here temporarily. They're all going to leave. Right? And I'm not going to follow them especially the bad guests. Right? Who'd want to live with them? Therefore, it was said, if one is unaffected by all things, there will be no obstructions, even when one is constantly surrounded by things. everyone, just for a moment, just get into your host. You just be that way. You're the host. You're the one who stays. You're the one that's aware. You're the one who's present. And in relationship to the thoughts that arise, the feelings that arise, whatever arises, label them as the guests. They come from nowhere, they stay, and then they're gone. And yet you who is aware, mindful, you're still here, aren't you? Host is the one that stays. Guests are the ones that come and go. Space is open. Space is not disturbed by all the dust. It's open and spacious, and the dust just moves through it. So let me speak to that part of you right now that is aware. That part of yourself that right now is aware of what's going on right now. Talking, seeing, thinking, feeling, sensing, right? Those are all the things right now you're aware of. Is that clear? Is everybody with me? Right now you're aware, and you're aware of all these things: thoughts, feelings, perception, sight, sound, smells, tastes, bodily sensation. You're aware of all that. Are you aware of all that happened when you were 5 years old right now? Are you having the same exact experience you had when you were 5 years old? And you would say what? No. Right? But you would say, but I was aware something was happening. Right? How many things do you think your mind has been aware of in your life? Anybody can add them up? How many moments of experience has your mind experienced in its life? Anybody want to guess? What? Billions. I don't know. Billions, trillions, millions. Is that true? Each of us. I mean, each of us has our own unique experiences that have just come and gone, come and gone. Thousands, millions of thoughts, millions of experience, millions of scenes, millions of hearings, millions of feelings, right? Millions. How many dramas do you think we've had in our life? Right? Millions of dramas too. Millions of things to want, to need, to be upset about, to be happy about. How many of those things have appeared in our life? Well, many, 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 many. That's life. But not knowing they were the guests and we were the host, we what? What? Yeah, we what? Yes, we definitely got in the car with them. Or else we begged them to stay. Don't leave. Don't leave. I mean, can you imagine if you owned a hotel and you never let your guests go? I mean, after a while, what would that inn be like? You know, maybe 10 to a bed. Right? You think staying at a hotel where there were 10 to a bed and everything was always crowded, and is that a hotel you'd want to go to for a rest? No. But isn't our minds like that? Crowded. Crowded with so many things, old things, right? Future things, right? We're full up, aren't we? Right? It's like, where they say, no vacancy, and yet we keep the door open. It's like this double message, no vacancy, but come on in. So Shu Yun is saying, this is a practice that beginners should begin when they begin practice, their spiritual practice, getting this straight. Between host and guest, space and dust. Because if we don't get it, and if we think we're the guests, which we do, what happens? What happens?
We're disappointed.
Disappointed? What else? Confused.
At odds with reality.
What?
At odds with reality.
We don't even know what reality is. There's so many guests in here. Endlessly, going around, and some are happy, and there are ones who are whining and complaining, and this one's having a hissy fit up in room 111, and you know what I mean? It's like, this one's very demanding, this one's, right, is always wanting more, Anybody ever hear these kind of voices in their mind? And we think they're what? We think they're real, and we think they're me. Because we think our thoughts are what? Are me. We think our feelings are what? Are me. We think our memories are what? Me. Where do our memories go when we don't have them? Where do they go? What? Yeah, they're even memories are guests. We don't have the same memory all the time, do we? No, they just come and go. Why do they come and go? Because they're the guests. We're the host. We're the one who stays. We're the one who remains. Right? Anybody have a drama in their life in the past week or two? Okay. Is that drama here right now? No, but you are. You're still here. After the drama's gone, good ones, bad ones, you're still here. But if you identify your life with the drama, with the guests, you'll always be what? Right? But the host isn't like that. Host is what? Stable. Yeah. You know the guests are going to go. Right? Yeah. After they go, whether they, made their beds every day or they left a pig pen, You're just going to clean it up and get it ready for the next guest, right? So what does this have to do with our life? Anybody have a thought? Why is Fred going on, belaboring this morning? What's he up to? Hmm? Anybody have any idea why we're up to? Well, hold on. Dion, you got the? Yeah, anybody? Yeah. Why is this relevant in an important, significant way to our life? And again, this could be whether anybody just stumble in here today for the first time, second time, third time. Yeah. So what's this relevant? Anybody been here too many times? Yeah. So, it doesn't matter. It's the same truth. Yes?
Because we're creating drama for no reason. We're attaching to things and we're just disappearing.
Yeah. So again, and we're not even getting into now why we create drama. We're just going, it's just a drama. An illusory drama. It's not real. If all the dramas you've had this week, this month, this lifetime are real, they'd be sitting here with you. Are they sitting here with you? Look around. This is a reality check. Anybody see all their dramas that they've been concerned about this life sitting here with them? Why not? See, we never ask ourselves that question. Why not? Because they are illusory, meaning they have no reality to them. At the time they did, didn't they? I'm just thinking the person who said, sawing off. That's it, you see? You're there. The woman's being sawed in half, right? And people aren't calling the police, right? Nobody's dialing 911. Nobody's running up on stage and saying, stop. Look what he's doing, everybody. He's sawing that woman in half. Everybody's just sitting there, right? And all of a sudden you go, if you think it's real, you do what? You jump up on the stage, you get all upset, you manhandle the guy who's cutting, you call 911, get him arrested. Somebody's sawing a woman in half. But you don't do that. You just sit there. Why do you sit there? Because you know what? It's an illusion, even though it appears real. This is the dichotomy. This is the trick. Right? You're there. You see what's happening. You're aware of what's happening. But you know it's not really happening the way it looks. Illusory thoughts. And dramas are made up of what? Thoughts, images, feelings. Right? We put them all together, and we have what? Storyline. We have a nice what? Drama. Are they real? If they were real, they'd always exist. But they don't always exist. They come, they arise, yeah. All of a sudden somebody does something or says something that changes it, and all of a sudden you let go of what? The drama, the thought, the feeling, the perception. Now, we want to get to the place where we can be like in the audience with the, with the illusionist, and we know that what's happening has no solidity, no reality to it. It's illusory in that sense. And therefore we don't What? We don't react. We don't get caught. We understand it's not real. Now, what I'm saying is completely opposite to the way everybody's living their life. Is that true? Because most people are living their life as if their dramas are real, and when they get together with their friends, what do they talk about? Their dramas. Right? If you think about what people do together these days, they share their dramas. Now again, if you're a creative artist and you're writing screenplays or you're writing books and you're getting together talking about your creations, well, that's okay. But those kind of people know they're creating works of fiction. But we think our dramas are nonfiction. We think they're real. Is that true? Now, what I'm saying here is very opposite to the way we act in this world. So let's talk about it. Just close your eyes a second before we talk and ask yourself, the dramas of my life, where are they created? Where are they created? And who is the creator of the drama? Think about all the dramas you've had in your life, all the things you get upset about, bent out of shape about, get into conflicts with people about. And then they're gone. And they're resolved. And then a new drama. And then another drama. Do we just follow the dramas around? Can you see that they're just guests? Who just come and go? Now, because we take our dramas very seriously, because we identify with the guests, let's talk about this. So anybody want to bring a real life issue? Or let's talk about this whole concept of guest and host, dust and space. Any questions about that? I mean, you don't have to, for those who are new, this is not dogma, this is not theology. This is based on observation of human minds, so if you disagree or have a different experience, that's fine. Okay, but let's talk about it. Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to wrap my definition around
Yeah.
the guest.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the thought of what, because things happen in a functional life that come and go.
Things happen. Okay. So there's reality. Like right now, what would you say in reality, what's going on right now?
There's a conversation coming back and forth.
Yeah, you might say, I'm sitting in a hall, meditation hall, and Fred and I are talking. Would everybody agree with that? I mean, is he in reality? Okay, so everybody agrees. Now, keep going.
Well, I was going to use the example, like you get in a car accident, that's reality.
You get in a car accident, that's reality.
So is the guest the accident or how you think about the accident?
Well, here we're talking about thoughts. I mean, actually, yeah, I mean, you're not going to lay there for that forever, are you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, truly all experiences are also illusory in the sense that they don't stay. But let's just talk about what I think is more important to this, okay? So you, the one who's here and who's aware, who's present to this exchange, right? You're the host. And everything you experience, including your thoughts, feelings, perception, are the guests because they don't stay. You stay. Right? So the one thing I know that the you who's aware right now is going to be the same you who's going to be aware in the car accident. Even though this is not a car accident, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but you will still be there. You'll be aware. You'll be aware of what's going on around you, right? You are the host of your life. Each one of us is the host of our life. Right? I'm not the host of Nick's life. I got enough trouble with my own life, Nick. Sorry. You're the host of your life. Oh, yeah. Peggy, you're the host of your life. Max, you're the host of your life. Okay? Okay. So come back to the car accident. So there you are. The reality is, there you are, whatever. Okay, then what? Then what?
So then is the guest the thoughts that start pouring in?
Yes, all of a sudden, thoughts which are thoughts about what's happening in reality. Those are the guests. Because they will keep what? You can be, let's say you've had a car accident somewhere in I don't know, in the country. And, on a semi-deserted road. Okay? And you may lay there for hours or be stuck for hours. Right? And yet, during those hours, you may have all kinds of thoughts, such as,
Why did this happen to me?
why this happened to me? Or you may think,
Who caused the accident?
who caused the accident? Or you might think, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get out of here. Right? And then when you think you're going to die, you may think about your life and have regrets, and you know what I mean? Or you may think, nobody knows I'm here, You could have lots of, you could get very scared. Right? Get very sad, disappointed. I'm all alone. Nobody knows, you know what I mean?
That helps.
Or how about another thought? You could think, oh, this is interesting. Well, this is an interesting scenario to be here. Well, it's very interesting. You could just be relaxed and aware. Right? All those are the guests. The reality is you're there, had an accident, can't get out. Okay, it doesn't mean, if you have your phone there, you don't make, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I mean, it's not passive. But all those extraneous thoughts that make us afraid and make us sad and get us angry, and we get angry at ourselves, right? You could be there going, what an idiot I am. I can't believe that I sped around that turn, you know what I mean? I just kind of think, you think about all the other idiotic things you've done in your life, and right? Endless guests that you're entertaining. Yes. Upstairs, Brent? Yeah.
Tanya says, I really
Who-
get the...
yeah?
Tanya,
Yeah.
I really get the concepts of thoughts and feelings being illusionary and not real. However, doesn't our experience of those feelings and moments in time contribute to who we are today? So a piece of it resides in memory. Is that also dichotomy?
Well, I'm not going to get into that. But, so her question is, what are memories? Yeah, memories are thoughts and images, right? With a feeling tone, right? Which, it's an imaginary rendering of something that we might have experienced in reality. But, there's lots of research on memory. It's very creative. Many of our memories of many things are not really reality, but there are kind of artistic impressions of reality. Yeah, but they're also, yeah. I mean, getting into who I am today as a person, I'm not going to get into today. That's another whole issue that has to do with karma. But what I want to talk to you about today is host and guest. The one who stays is the one who's aware. The one who stays is you. Not the you of thought, not the you of stories, but the you that is present and aware right now. And, you've been present and aware since birth. And you were probably present and aware in utero. I won't go back further. Right? Anybody ever been present at a birth of a child? Anybody ever been present at birth of a child? Are they not present? Are they not aware? Yeah. The good thing, they don't have any stories, they don't have any memory. They're just present and aware. That presence and awareness that we were born with is the same present and awareness that you have sitting here today. Exactly the same present and awareness. But what's the problem? What's the difference between us and who we were when we were born? Experiences. And what? Lots of experiences. And what have we done with those experiences? Have we been hosts who just let them go? We what? We have what? We have storerooms. We have attics. We have filled up our mind, our memory bank with endless stories. Any other questions, comments about what we've talked about so far? I mean, if this doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't agree with your experience or your logic or your understanding, please say that. I mean, again, this is not theology. This is not truth from on high. This is a truth that great masters and enlightened people have discovered about the human condition. And they share these teachings only for one reason. So we stop suffering. Yes?
Hey, Fred Snyman. So you mentioned it earlier. I made the shift, the perspective shift, that the I am is the host, is the one watching, the one staying.
The one who's aware, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hold it up, the mic a little closer to your mouth, yeah.
The reason why I don't stay there is twofold. The one is sometimes it's painful to be home, so there's emotions because of stories and thoughts that run away.
Okay, so let me just work with you. So there you are in your words, the I am, the one that's aware, the one that's here, the one that's watching and aware the life. And then sometimes you have a guess. That's heavy duty. Heavy duty guest. Lots of drama. And this guest has a lot of painful drama. Okay? But they're still a guest. Is that true?
Yeah.
Right? Because if they weren't the guest, I'd say to you, well, were you born? I mean, was it there when you were born?
No.
Was it there when you were 5 years old, 10? You see what I'm saying? So you see, at some point, that arrived. Now we're going to talk in a few minutes about how to handle guests, because that's what we're talking about. Yeah, that's the key thing. But the first thing is to get distinguishment between host and guest, space and dust. Right? The next step is, all right, knowing that, what kind of innkeeper do I want to be? How do I handle those guests? Especially the ones that aren't the happy guests. Anybody have problems with happy guests? No. Guests that follow the rules, guests that are a pleasure to be around, make their beds, clean up after themselves. I mean, think in reality. Anybody ever have a guest in their house? Are there different kinds of guests? Are there some guests that you would really like them to stay? Are there some guests you can't wait till they go? Yeah. I mean, so this is a good analogy. Yes, Brent.
Susan asked, I don't quite get why the coming and going makes the thoughts not real.
You mean why thoughts are called illusory and not real? Okay. Now, everything in the ultimate sense is unreal because everything has a temporary reality, okay? But would you call this, just for consensual reality? So if I was talking about a flower here and just telling you about it, right? So there's a flower up here. It's in a white pot. It's a kind of little orchid. It's really pretty. Could I be just telling you a story? Okay. And you might go, Fred, you're just telling me a story. And I say, wait. It's real. Okay? Now, the stories you tell yourself, where do they exist? Where do the dramas exist? Is everybody clear about that? Where do they exist? Ask yourself. All my dramas, where do they exist? Yeah, this is important in mind. In whose mind? My mind. Now, Max has got a drama, and he says in his mind, I can't see it. Can you show me the drama, Max? And Max will go, what? I can't show it to you, Fred. Why can't you show it to me? It's in your mind, and it's not a real thing. Because only you see it. Right? Now, in my imagination, could I imagine this flower in my mind? Yeah. Could I tell you about my imaginary flower? Right. But you would know what? That Fred's just telling you a story about an imaginary flower. It's not real. Because he can't show it to you. So this is called in Buddhism consensual reality. It means a reality that anybody can consent to. Right? So this is consensual reality now. Can we all consent that we're sitting here in the meditation hall, or those online or sitting at home watching it? Yeah, that's reality. Our dramas are our own creation. And what is the nature of our own creation? They're guests. Now again, we can't go too far with this because we're innkeepers, right? So we can't go, I don't want any more guests in here because they're all illusory. So we'll talk about that. Any other questions just about host and guest?
Yes, Young Kim asks, you mentioned that we have a tendency to hold on to our guests. At times, we try to follow these guests home. For these guests that we seem to hold on to, how do we let them go or check out?
Yes. Well, that's the issue, isn't it? Everybody hear the question? So should we get into it? Yeah. All right. So first is getting host and guest. Who's the host? Everybody point to themselves. And this is not the you with all your stories. This is just the you who's aware and present. That you. That you will be, that is here now, that when you leave here and go on later today and do this and that and this and that and this and that and go to bed and wake up in the morning, that you is you. Okay? And everything that appears in your mind, of all the things you do and thoughts and feelings, are the guess. Just nod if we're all in the same consensual reality. Okay. Now, this is what this is all about. I mean, why teach this? Shu Yun was a great Buddhist teacher. He worked with thousands and thousands of people. Why did he work with them? Only one purpose: to alleviate their suffering and to help them be free, which means be happy. Okay. So, the reason we talk about this is, yes, if I'm going to run a hotel, I want to what? Let's say I want to run a hotel. Do you want to be a miserable innkeeper? Anybody want to be a miserable? Anybody want to be a miserable innkeeper? Nobody would. Right? How about would you like to be a chronically angry innkeeper? No takers? Anybody want to be a chronically worried and anxious innkeeper? Nobody? Let me get this straight. I got a great job for you, running this really fancy hotel. And, you know, beside the good pay, you just have to be willing to be angry, anxious, sad, disappointed, hurt a lot of the time. What'd you think? Looking for a better hotel to manage? Yeah. So, we are the innkeepers of our minds. And we have to exercise some degree of criteria that we can delineate wanted, unwanted, wholesome, unwholesome guests. Okay, so the last time Max was in this hotel, he trashed a room and didn't pay. Now I see he just called for a reservation for next week. What do you think? No, Max. Not letting you in my hotel. Right? Oh, there was Nick. He was here 3 weeks ago. All he did, complain and whine about everything. I see he's made a reservation for next week. Oh, sorry, Nick, we're full. As the innkeeper, we want to exercise some degree of control of who comes and when they leave. Some guests, like let's say you really have a guest in your house, and they're just obnoxious. And after a couple of days, you realize, phew, unpleasant. you might do what? What? Suggest that maybe it's time for them to leave. Yeah. Now, the problem is for many of us, we have a hotel, our minds, but we don't have a very conscious innkeeper. We don't have anybody manning the front door. Right? We don't have anybody saying, oh, yeah, this is a good story. I'm just talking about stories now. If you can tell stories, right? You know, why don't you tell a good story? A happy story, a meaningful story, an uplifting story. Right? There's got to be somebody at the front door exercising some degree of assessment of what's coming in. And then there's got to be somebody in the hotel who's assessing what's going on right now. Many of us, there's nobody home. Right? So a guest may show up. What? An angry guest. And what do? Let's be honest. What do we do when that angry guest pops up with his or her angry story about somebody did this to me and somebody did right? What do we do? What? Yeah, and we what? And we repeat. We make them home. We make them home in our minds. Right? And we make them home in our minds not just for an hour. We make them home in our minds for decades for some people. And yet when we stop and go, are these the kind of guests I want to have in my house? All they do is cause what to me? Suffering. And I could go on and on naming all those guests that we allow into our hotel, our home, our mind, and we nurture them. Come right here. I got a beautiful room for you. Anything you want? Can I get you anything? Right? You know? In a subtle way, if you have a bad guest in your house, are you going to go out of your way to please them? No, you're going to go out of your way. Maybe we'll get the idea. If we just kind of ignore them. Yeah, so we are not very good at being clear about the guests we invite in and don't invite in. We're not very good about when they're here, whether we really want to nurture and cultivate them, or do we really want to encourage them to leave. Because if you were an innkeeper, ideally, what kind of guests would you like to have? Ideally. What? Happy guests. Other kind of guests? Polite guests. Any other kind of guests? What? What? Well, but if they're really great, if they clean up after themselves, if they're very sweet, if they're very kind to everybody else, yeah, you can stay. You're a good guest. I like having more guests like you. Right? The more guests I have in my hotel like that, the less room there is for those other guests. There's no room for them. Sorry, all filled up. So, the analogy of host and guest is very profound. It sets it up with this understanding of hosts and guests, and then the rest of it is, okay, once I get that I'm the host, I'm the one who stays, I'm the one who's got to live with this guest, what do I want to do? See, you're becoming conscious, you're becoming aware, and the most important thing is you realize you have choice. Many people don't realize they have choice. No. Sorry, I made a mistake. You know that we have somebody coming into that room tomorrow night. You'll have to leave. No, the rooms. Sorry. Bye-bye. So this teaching is really about, and it comes into a whole lot of other stuff, is, yeah, what kind of mind do I want? And what are the, since everything is just rising and passing, moving through, and yet, as other people have said, they affect me, right? Would you say that when you have, loving thoughts, and whether you have unloving thoughts toward another human being, they're both thoughts, right? They're both illusory, in the sense we've talked about. They're both guests, but I'd say during the time they stay with you, do they feel differently? Is that clear? Yeah, so we're not going to an extreme and going, well, everything's an illusion, so what? Good thoughts, bad thoughts? No. You know, in this world we live in, right? In this world we live in, what's your name? Tom, how Tom is dealing with the accident will have a lot to do with his mind state. Right? Is he just filled with fear? Right? Is he just filled with anger? Right? Is he just filled with sadness and despair? Or is he present and aware? Right? And maybe he's using his time there to, generate loving, kindness thoughts toward his loved ones. Maybe thinking, well, if this really is the end, let me think of all the people who've been kind to me in my life, how grateful I am. I mean, if I asked you, Tom, which of those mind states would you choose? Yeah, it's like, why not? Right? I mean, why lay out in the country for hours, just being miserable? Right? Yeah. Especially when we don't have to do it. But we need to what? We have to begin to enter into a process of really knowing our minds better, and kind of comes back to mindfulness. Remember we talked about mindfulness, concentration, insight, learning how to use our minds in a healthy way to support our happiness and well-being in life. Host and guest. So from now on, from this moment on, everybody knows who's the host? We're the host. We're the host of our mind. We're the host of our life. And that's what we got to be very responsible in taking care of. Because the bottom line, we all want to be happy. We all like to have a peaceful mind. Is that true? It's very simple. None of us want to suffer needlessly. Yeah. So any questions about what's been shared today? Yes, Nicholas?
Thank you, Fred.
Mm-hmm.
I think this teaching's useful and accurate. I had one question, which is differentiating between the happy guests, the guests that make me feel good, and the guests that are coming in that might be useful, but don't immediately make me feel good. Like telling a truth about the world that doesn't feel good, but still can like, oh, I need to know that. Thank you for telling me, guest.
Well, can you
So-
give me an example? So therefore, you might have a thought that is what?
Sure. A guest that comes in and tells about,
So you have a thought.
exactly, a thought
That
about
says-
a potential danger tomorrow, but it might be pretty accurate. So it's an uncomfortable thought, an unwanted guest, but maybe a useful one.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, again, thoughts aren't bad, right? I mean, going to an illusionist show is really wonderful, right? But you know they're an illusion. Okay. So this thinking mind of ours has great capacities, right? Thought, we have wonderful thoughts. We have loving. Most people are here because they had thoughts about, gee, maybe I need to learn how to meditate, or I need to learn about Buddhism. Or, yeah, there are all kind of thoughts that we have that are good for us. Yeah, that nurture, that have a positive thing. Yeah, so if there's something going on tomorrow, that is a danger, and you want to, get your strategy together. If there really is a danger, yeah, then of course. But that should make you feel good. I mean, that's the interesting thing, Most people, like in their anxiety, they just get focused on the object and they just spin it. Right? So they get worry, anxiety, fear. But if you go, is there a real danger that I need to deal with? And if the answer is yes, okay, then I need a strategy. What am I going to do? And then you feel good because I have a strategy. Yeah, I have a way to handle it. So the anxiety won't be there anymore. But most people, it's like anger, we just get caught in the loop of the feeling and the story and never move on. We want to move on because they're just guests. Thank you, Nick. And yes, one more upstairs and then we'll come to an end.
Young Kim asks, how do we uninvite unwanted guests versus suppressing or ignoring them?
Well, again, suppressing, pushing down, ignoring, again, the issue is if we see an unwanted guest coming in our direction, we don't invite them in. Now, you have to kind of be on your game. You have to be able to see what's coming and go, yeah, I don't want to invite that in. Yeah, I don't want to go there. Yeah. How many people have trains of thought that they thunk endless times? Everybody raise their hand. Okay. So you get it, right? You know where that thought pattern leads to. Where does it lead? What? Well, unfortunately, if it was nowhere, it'd be better, but often it leads to what? Sadness, suffering, anger, fear, hurt, right? I mean, we know where it goes, and because we've been there. I mean, how many times do I have to go over the same story? Did you ever think that you have a choice? You could ask yourself. I've been repeating this story for 10 years. I get it. All right, something happened. All right. Do I need to keep repeating it? I mean, who doesn't get it? And is this what if you free your mind of all that kind of negative thinking, look at the space that's going to be opened up in your mind for what? Good stuff. Wholesome stuff, stuff that nurtures you, stuff that makes you happy. The second teaching I was going to give today, we don't have time, is called gladdening the mind. Yeah. But we can't gladden the mind if we're always cultivating, the negative stuff. Yeah. So Buddhist practice is really about learning to gladden the mind with wholesome ways of being. But we got to create some space. in our minds. Okay? So I hope this has been helpful today. Again, for those of you who are new or old, we have tea afterwards. There'll be members there. I'll be there. We can talk some more. So thank you for coming.